Now, I know most people, well, probably nobody here except me, speaks Welsh. Oh, so thank you. There'll be at least 2 people who understand all of my story. 3, 4. Oh, great, brilliant. Not just me then. There will be a light sprinkling of Welsh, but it will probably be understandable. Well, let's see as the story goes on. So this story starts with, well, as all good Welsh stories do, with Amser Maith yn ôl. Amser Maith yn ôl, a long, long time ago in Wales, as you've guessed, there lived a prince, and his name was Llywelyn. And this story is set around 2 years after he married his beautiful wife, the Princess Siwan, and about 6 months after the Princess Siwan gave birth to their beautiful baby son, Ioan. Isn't that sweet? And they were pretty happy, the 3 of them. Of course, being royal and having a lot of money, I'm sure that must have helped. As a threesome, they were pretty happy. Well, I say 3. Actually, there was a sort of 4th unofficial member of the family. But this 4th member of the family, he wasn't entirely human. You've probably guessed it by now, but he was Prince Llywelyn's beloved hunting dog, Gelert. And Prince Llywelyn and Gelert were the best of friends. They did everything together. They went fishing together, which his wife would have liked to have done with him. They went hunting together, which his wife would have liked to have gone on as well. And occasionally, he did have to sleep in the marital bed, something which, as you can probably guess, annoyed the Princess Siwan very, very much, and was not allowed to happen often, only on special occasions. But generally, as a foursome, they were quite happy. And then one day, around 6 months after the birth of Prince Ioan, Prince Llywelyn turned to his wife and said, "Cariad, did he heb fod efo'n gilydd ar benyn hunain ers oes, ers cyn i'r babi gael ei eni? Mae'n rhaid i ni fynd I ffwrdd efo'n gilydd." And Prince Llywelyn agreed. I mean, they hadn't been on their own for a very long time, and it was time they did something together as a couple. So he agreed. But the Princess Siwan was a little worried, and she asked her husband, "Ond pwy fydd yn edrych ar ôl y babi?" She was worried about childcare, of course. As if it was a couple's holiday, well, they weren't going to take the baby. And the Prince Llywelyn turned to his wife and said, "Paid â phoeni cariad, neith Gelert edrych ar ei ôl o." Well, the Princess Siwan was obviously slightly apprehensive about this, because leaving a dog, even her husband's best friend, in charge of a baby, and a quite small baby at that, was obviously a risk she was willing to take. But Prince Llywelyn talked around and promised a nice holiday with lots of fishing and hunting and television watching, as they did in those days. And she agreed, because Gelert was quite a reliable, trustworthy dog, as dogs go. So she agreed, and they got on their horses, and they galloped off to their hunting lodge, and they spent a pleasant day together. But Princess Siwan had only agreed to go on one condition, and that condition was that Gelert come to the hunting lodge at 6 o'clock that first night, just to let them know that everything was okay. I'm presuming they didn't have mobile phones in those days, because otherwise you could have just texted or phoned. There you go. So she was quite looking forward to it, and she had a clear conscience until 6 o'clock. And they had a pleasant day together. They fished, and they hunted, and they watched television together. I presume they did many, many other things. But nobody quite knows. And then 6 o'clock came, and they were plumped in their armchairs in front of the television and the roaring fire. And Princess Siwan looked at the time and said, "Lle mae'r ci ma? Mae fod yma erbyn rwan. O, dwi yn poeni braidd Llywelyn." And Llywelyn reassured his wife that there was probably just some traffic on the road. Any moment. Well, he'd been late before only a few minutes, but guaranteed. And then 6:30 came around, and there was no sign of Gelert. And the Princess Siwan turned to Llywelyn and said, "O, dwi wir yn poeni rwan. Dwi wir yn poeni. Lle mae'r ci yma? Be mae di mynd?" And Prince Llywelyn reassured his wife again, saying that probably the traffic was very heavy, or he'd just been held up doing something, or he'd been held up in childcare. But truth be told, he was getting a little worried himself now. And then 7 o'clock came round, a whole hour after Gelert was due to be there, and there was no sign of him at all. No word, no nothing. And the Princess Siwan turned to her husband and said, "Dwi yn poeni rwan, Llywelyn. They tried to even nôl i'r palace I Jacob o popeth yn iawn." Obviously, she was getting really worried by now, and the Prince Llywelyn, although he tried not to show it, by being very calm and very reassuring, well, truth be told, he was getting a bit worried himself now. And then, 7:30 came around, a whole hour and a half, and there was no sign of Gelert. And Llywelyn turned to his wife and said, "We tried to even know. We tried to be gal and heffil, and we tried to be fynd nôl i'r palace, just to check about popeth yn iawn. Dwi'n poeni rwan." And the Princess Siwan was thrilled. She'd been trying to make him see that she was worrying for the past hour and a half, and he hadn't listened at all, been heard by you. So he got back on his horse, and he galloped off back to the palace, quite worried now. And as he pushed open the door to his home, the most terrible sight met his eyes. The curtains from the grand stained glass windows were torn down and shoved in a corner. And there was no sign at all of the baby prince. But the worst sight of all was the sight of Gelert on all fours in the middle of the grand hall, with a mad, slavering look in his eye and blood dripping from his jaws. And the Prince Llywelyn put 2 and 2 together and drew out his sword and said, "Rwyt ti wedi lladd fy mab, Gelert. And made you dally on him. You will pay for this." And as he looked into the eyes of his best friend, he drew back his sword and plunged it deep into the dog's heart. And Gelert made a sound a bit like this. "Ow, ow, ow!" I'm not sure of the Welsh translation for that, but that was the sound he made. And as he made that sound, the light slowly left his eyes. But mingled with that sound was another sound, and this sound was a little bit like this. Wah, wah, wah. And the Prince Llywelyn, still with sword in hand, so he must have looked quite frightened, thought, "Beth sydd o dan y llen yna? What exactly is under those drapes in that corner?" Then he went over to the drapes and he turned them back. And underneath it was the upturned cot of the baby prince, who was there all swaddled in blankets and had slept through the entire thing, as babies are wont to do. "Oh, Tîm ddiogel, Tîm ddiogel, Tîm ddiogel, you're safe, you're safe! Oh!" And then the Prince Llywelyn thought to himself, "Be dwi di wneud? Be dwi di wneud? Dwi di lladd fy ffrind gorau." How could he ever forgive himself for killing his best friend? So Gelert got a fine state funeral, and he was buried outside a small church. And outside that small church, a village grew up in later years, and that village is called Bedd Gelert today. It's still there, which is Gelert's grave in Welsh. And Prince Llywelyn dug the grave with his own hands, but it is said that after the headstone was laid, and Prince Llywelyn walked back from the church, his smile drooped. And then, in all the years to come, they had many more children, he and his wife, and they grew up to be a happy family. But it is said that the Prince Llywelyn never smiled again. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you very much.